Guru Nanak, we are your young Sikhs that stand before you today. We stand before you to request your blessings, your permission to carry the flag of the Sikh nation into a new era, into a new generation. We are the next generation, and with your blessing, we stand before you in service.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh Ji. I've probably seen most of you guys before, so we won't kind of dwell on the details because I think everyone's knows the 5 pledges. But what we really wanted to find out today was make today an open day event. So we wanted to kind of feed back to us what you've heard of us, what you liked or what you don't like, or what else you want to see changed. But we'll run through the updates for the party as well for the last 3 weeks that we've been around, and after that we'll open Q&As. Okay, so this is just a brief recap of our 5 pledges. Prachar obviously is the main thing at the moment. In English Katha, there's only 1 hour in the 2 main Gurdwaras, so probably the biggest change you're going to find once we form the committee is Prachar and ramping that up to a standard where it should be. So the main thing is kind of get the foundations right, and Prachar is always the main part of that. The second thing is about Sevadaars. A lot of people shared their experiences with us. A few people are here already who kind of told us they actually want to do Seva at the Gurdwara, but they were turned away because of the way they looked or the connections they had with their previous committees or parties. So what we really want to do is take the politics out of doing Seva. And yeah, that's going to be one of our main points. The third thing is about accountability, approachability and transparency. And not 5 months down the line, they had a meeting about X, Y, Z. Accountability, what we want to do is actually make you aware of who the 21 members are. I know they're not here and we haven't actually got 21 members yet, but when we do, we're going to line them up and you can actually ask them questions about their speciality, what the skills they have and what they actually want to bring. And fundamentally, why they're doing it. Because, you look at 21 members now, I don't think you can ask all of them and they can give you a satisfactory answer as why they're actually a committee member. So we want to actually change that and we want to make us approachable to you. So every 2-3 months we all get together, we'll line up and you can actually ask us questions. At the moment there's no facility where all the committee members can be lined up and you can ask individually, okay, you were in charge of this Seva, where is it now, where are we? So we're going to introduce a review process as well. So if things are going wrong, we catch them as soon as we can rather than 2 years down the line and the budget's been blown up. The fourth thing is around community support. A few people here raised issues where, okay, fair enough, Sikhi is important, but we're not a Gurdwara, in the middle of nowhere. The South of Gurdwara plays an incredible role in the local community, and they should be providing services, to support people who are going through depression, domestic violence. And we look around, there's so many charities who actually do this work because they've gone to the Gurdwara, and they're like, grooming cases, for example. They've gone to the Gurdwara, look, can you support us? But the Gurdwara has not facilitated that. So they've had to go on their own and actually make change themselves. So the Gurdwara should be supporting organizations who deal with, I think Baisa was talking about, he gets called up about conversions. Parents ringing up and saying, look, my son's been converted. This has happened. So it's about how do you support those families? So we want to bring that into it. So Baji mentioned financial support as well. Making the Gurdwara a one-stop place for any issues you have. Someone at the Gurdwara should be able to say, okay, here's a list of charities we're linked with, we've got good relationships with. Look, why don't you give this person a call? And he should be able to look at your case, quickly and efficiently and kind of give you the guidance that you need. And a part of that is making the Gurdwara more a confidential, private place. What happens now is that people fear that you can't go to the Gurdwara because the whole Sangat will know. So it's trying to bring that trusted relationship back between the Sangat and the committee. And the last bit is about structure. So I know everyone's probably heard about it and talked about it as well, about the Panch Pyare system. And we've talked about it on the whole accountability side of, looking out and making sure the committee doesn't do anything that's against the Gurmat. But also, being Amritari myself and many Amritaris here, who've had to kind of, if you've got a question about Ret or any other questions about your Sikhi, you don't have to turn on to forums or, onto Ask FM. You should have a Panj Pyara you can ask questions to in your local Gurdwara to provide that spiritual support alongside, making sure the committee is not stepping out of line. And some of us might not feel empowered enough to say, Randeep Singh, I saw you doing this. So they can ask the Panj Pyare, say, look, Panj Pyare, I saw him doing this. Why don't you question him? So then you basically kind of give it up to them and they will take it on. So you don't have to deal with the pressure of kind of, raising your voice in the middle of a meeting. Those are our 5 main pledges. What we're going to do once the other parties have, released their manifestos, we're going to actually drill down under each of those 5 things and say, okay, this is year 1, what we're going to do. Year 2, this is what we're going to do. So you can actually measure us against our, what we're doing. You can measure our success. At the end of the day, that's why we're doing it, because at the moment, there's no measurement. You can't review what the committee is doing because the manifestos are forgotten after the first 2 months. So here's the update. Many of you have probably seen the interview we gave to Harjab Pangal on his show last Monday, which is really good. There's 2 things we actually raised in that meeting. One was Harjab said he always gets auntie coming up to him and saying, look, that alleyway between Havelock Road, Hammond Road and Havelock Road, there's druggies there, people saying all sorts, swearing and X, Y, and causing a lot of harassment. And funny enough, we said that should be the Gurdwara's Gurdwara should kind of work with the local council to do that. And the next day, there's a 7-foot fence all the way along the back of those houses. And another point was when Paisa was saying they actually donated high chairs to the Gurdwara for the Langar Hall. And they were kind of quickly disposed of. But now they're back in the Langar Hall. So not even being in kind of power, and we're just kind of holding these things, to account and say, look, this is what's happening. The Gurdwara should be doing it. It's being implemented. So, I just think that's a wow point in terms of, look, 3 weeks, we're raising issues on the media and out of, I don't know, guilt or whatever, the committees or the local council actually doing something about them. So which is a good point. Some of you might have read some of our articles in the Punjab Times. I think main article was about today's event, kind of making sure people are aware we're around and who we are, and actually come and meet us personally, rather than someone speaking to you from the front. We actually want to know who you are, where you live, what issues do you face, do you have children, how much are they into Sikhi, what could we do more? Because the pledges are all good. I mean, we can sit here and we can think of all the pledges we want, but it's about what the Sangat wants. I think that's what we sometimes forget. We always think, I think the Sangat will like this, or the Sangat will like that. We'll put that in there, that's a nice picture. But talking to someone individually and finding out, actually, he's got this issue, how can the Gurdwara support that? How do we actually get that into our manifesto? There's more to come in terms of media exposure. I think Bhai Saabs gave an interview on Punjab Radio yesterday night. There's going to be another interview tomorrow. We're lining up Gurinder Singh, who's our youth pradhan from Canada, to go on Harjab's show on Monday night to kind of talk about his experiences, what they had to go through, and a bit about how was it before and during, and what they kind of look to achieve in the next 4 or 5 years. So there's more to come on that. More articles to be written as well that are going to be coming out in the next few weeks. What we want to do is kind of, not kind of, go out. It's just kind of, we're trying to sustain ourselves. So over the next few weeks, you'll kind of see a steady kind of increase of, what we are about and who we want to kind of, bring on board and so on. And actually, I just remember that, if you're a member from last time and you actually look at our pledges and you think, okay, I actually work with those, I can actually improve them. We actually really need, people to step up and make a difference, because if we don't do it, then, and we wait for someone like me or someone else to do it, then, we might not ever get there. But with you behind us, I mean, we're like one step closer to be able to kind of achieve what we want to do. Leaflets and posters have been printed now, and so obviously you've seen them here. They were given out at the local Gurdwara yesterday, and you're going to see more people, Sevadaars, who are going to be giving them out locally. We're probably going to go outside Southall as well now, moving towards Hayes and Hounslow as well. So we made videos about actually how to vote. Personally, I've had a difficult situation as well where I went there and I got turned away. So we made kind of videos for you to actually view before you go. So you make sure that you take everything you need rather than being turned away and you having to travel from so far. So please check those videos out. We're actually talking to the Gurdwara about people who are 18 who don't have provisional licenses, who are finding it difficult to get hold of the documents required to actually vote. So there's going to be a video about that as well, hopefully soon. And the finance side, we've got pledges of £10,000, which is great, and we've only been around for, I think, just under 3 weeks now. And we're getting a lot of financial backing in terms of, and then the reason why they're backing us, because they're fed up of the committees and the parties now, and they want to actually see change. They want to actually fund, an idea that the youth have brought to the table, rather than fund something that's been around for a while. Okay, so here we actually put together some slides about some frequently asked questions because I thought it'd be quite interesting. Because a lot of questions that are on here, I mean, I had those questions, and a lot of people thought about them as well. We thought we'd put it up so you can have actually kind of a read of actually, what we're actually about, and rather than kind of, those questions becoming, not answered, and it leads to kind of rumors or whatever. So the first question we get asked quite a lot is that the youth are not experienced. How are they going to run an organization like the Gurdwara? I think when we see the Gurdwara, we think, oh my God, look, so much panic. There's so many issues. But why are there so many issues? That's one thing we've got to understand. Why are there so many issues? Why does it need so many people with hands on? Why can't you let the Sevadaar do their duty? Why does the committee so much time to get everything in order? So the first 3 months, we're actually going to do a full review of the Gurdwara, not just finances, but structure-wise as well. What are the processes that are required, and what processes are just there just for the sake of them? We're going to cut away all of that. And as part of that, we've got a team of elders who've been doing seva of both Gurugad for the last 20 to 30 years, and they're more than happy to actually act as an advisory board for the youth committee to say, look, this is how you transition, these are the relationships you need to kind of maintain, this is how you do it. And we talk about, people always say, oh, you need to get this done, you need to do that, you need to do this, you need to keep that person happy. Well, it's a Gurdwara, it shouldn't really be like that. You shouldn't really have to be about favors, So we want to cut all that out, make the Gurdwara as lean as possible, but maintain the muscle. So the youth party work full time. How are they going to have time to run the Gurdwara on a day-to-day basis? So linked into my first point, try and make it as lean as possible. So it's not all about the committee members, it's about the Sevadaars. So we talked about 21 members, but we actually want 41, 42. We want to double that. If you're a Sevadaar, you want to come on board, you have a special skill. I spoke to someone about, he's a commercial lawyer. Well, we're more than happy to come on and help us with the constitution reforms and so on. So it's not just a team of 21, it's going to be a bigger team than that. And like the Gurdwara does now, it basically hires full-time Sevadaars to do the day-to-day running. And we're actually going to see, okay, where are those Sevadaars needed, at what times? Do we really need 3 full-time ones? Do we need 5? But we won't know that until we've done a full review. And part of that review is about bringing people who are actually doing that for a day-to-day, do that for their day-to-day jobs. So we have partners from accountancy firms who work in forensics, who work in audit, who can come in and say, look, this is what you should do in terms of governance. How do you build trust with the Sangat again? So introduce these processes. If you introduce this process and you communicate like this is the trust you're going to build. So we're looking to bring a panel of 4 or 5 independent professionals to say, look, we suggest that you do this, because it will build this trust, yeah. We're ignoring the older generation, which I hear quite a lot. But I'm just mentioned, we've got people who are willing, Sevadaars who've been around for 20 to 30 years, willing to help us with the transition period and actually provide advice on how to keep relationships going and so on. But actually, one of our pledges is about community support. And under that is a Paisab who actually mentioned himself, why do older people have to travel, 2 to 3, travel via 2 to 3 buses to get to the Gurdwara? Why isn't the bus providing a service for that? Service for the elderly in terms of, okay, you see, if I'm unpad and I don't know English and I get letters, I should be able to approach someone at the Gurdwara and say, look, can you please read this letter for me and is there anything I need to action before they get a red notice or whatever? So we are actually looking after the older generation. And part of the Panj Pyare structure is not, the Panj Pyare is not going to be solely of the youth. You know, we want Guru Sikhs who are elders as well, who can provide that kind of experience that they've kind of built over the last, you know, decades that they've been around. What is the need for a new party? Can you join the existing party? I think this question comes down to, so there's probably youth here who haven't actually voted ever before. And, you know, I've spoken to some people outside today's event, and they feel like, oh, nothing can change, there's only two parties. But the whole idea of this party is actually, do you know what, look, now is your chance. We're relaying the road. It's not just about, you know, I said to someone, it's not about refilling the potholes, what other committees are doing. You know, here's an issue, oh, let's fill it out with a pothole. But then 2 months down the line, that pothole is there again. It's about relaying that road. This is how it should be, with a clean piece of page. And I think we're talking to other people, they feel disenfranchised with the other parties, not just youth, elders as well. They're like, "Tusi khado, asi tuni support karde hain, but tusi inna na rayo na." Because don't go with these guys. Because if you guys are going to stand on your own. And I think that's the kind of mentality a lot of people have in the local community. And I think the numbers were something like only 10,000 people actually registered to vote out of 40,000 regular Sangat. So what's happening to the other 30,000? Why aren't they having their say? Or why aren't they? What's, you know, stopping them? And I think it's mostly down to the bad feeling people have about the committee, and they don't want to get involved. It's like, why should we get our hands dirty? Or why should we fund, you know, pay £5 and fund something like this? Because, you know, we all hear stories about financial, you know, misuse and whatever. Okay, so how can you trust us? This is quite a funny one, because I was talking to Jugraj about it and the other guys as well. Like, people say to me, "Oh, Pradhan," I'm like, well, I don't want this. If someone was better sitting here and they're willing to do this job, we'll touch your feet in terms of, you know, take this over. Because no one's stepping up, we're having to do this. And that's where the trust comes from, because we don't actually want the power. What we want to do is we want to make the Sangat above the committee. At the moment, the committees, you know, it's the Supreme Court, it's the House of Lords, House of Commons, it's the, you know, it's the Queen, it's the King, it's everything. But what we want to do is actually turn that hierarchy triangle upside down. It's the Sangats at the top. So Sangats can say, "You, what are you doing?" And so if we wanted power, why would we want to be changing that by bringing in the Panj Pyare to actually say, "Randeep Singh, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗਲਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ. You should be doing this"? Why are we switching it around so we're accountable to the Sangat every 2 months? If we wanted power, we wouldn't be actually giving all of this power away, in a way. We're saying, if you're a Sevadaar, you know, you're an accountant or you're a counsellor, you know, who deals with homeless people, for example, and you want to take that avenue on, you want to have a 2-3, you know, focus group of your own, and you want to actually implement some changes, there you go. But first you say, okay, my name is this is my qualifications, this is what I'm intending to do in 1 year, and if that person doesn't do it, then they're going to get called up. And, you know, if we wanted power, then we wouldn't be actually giving all those, you know, all those reassurances and saying, okay, look, you can pull us up anytime you want. Proven track records, obviously, I can't speak for myself. I've been an accountant in the city for the last 4.5 years. In terms of Seva, I wouldn't call it Seva, but we actually got a Sikh faith network at work. So we were there. So the Sikhs weren't represented before. You know, me and this other guy joined the firm in 2009. So we set up a Sikh network. We got a budget approved for £5,000, which kind of helped us actually plan out events. So we've held events with Seek to Inspire, with Sikri. Harinder Singh from the US came down. We've had Roop Singh, the storyteller from Yorkshire. We've had Base of Sikhi come down. We're working with other organizations in the city, so from people from EY, Accenture, UBS, trying to build, you know, that connectivity, because a lot of youth who work in the city don't actually have a chance to actually explore Sikhi because they're so busy at work. So we're trying to take it to the doorsteps. And that should be actually a project of a Gurdwara of Southall structure. We should be outreaching. There should be outreach programs from Southall Gurdwara. So that's my background in terms of, if you call it Seva. Jugraj, everyone knows here, he's been banging on about Gurdwara reforms for so long. But a part of that is based on Sikhi teaching. And there's people here, there's examples here of people who've followed the basic Sikhi courses. I have taken Amrit, for example, with Bhai Sahib Jagmeet Singh. We took Amrit 6 days ago. And that's all because of watching videos online in English. What will we do if we don't win? So it's actually a quite important question. So what will happen to Tera Panth Vasse if we don't win? And I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking, actually what her job show did, where we brought up certain issues, and we went to her job show and we said, look, this is Tera Panth Vasse. These are the issues we see. The issues with the alley, and for example, we pointed out the whole thing about the high chairs, and it got implemented straight away. So I thought about, okay, so the current Conservative Party have a formal opposition. So why doesn't Tera Panth Vasse, if they don't win, they'll form the formal opposition. Okay, so how can you help? So the main thing at the moment is actually making membership. If you don't make a vote, you ain't got a voice. So we're not saying vote for us. We're saying have a voice. So register, get your families to register, get your friends to register, and say to them, look, it's your responsibility to kind of make sure that the Gurdwara provides the services you want. And I've been on that bench as well, where it's easy to complain about, what's going on with the committees and, everything that's wrong with it, whatever. But if you don't make a vote, I mean, it's sad to say, but you actually don't have a right to say, do you know what, that's wrong, because, you didn't actually make an effort to have a say in the decision makers. So what we can say is that beinti hath joge beinti hai tusi vota banao. And we're not saying vote to us. Vote, you don't need to vote until September, October maybe, who knows. But make a vote. So make sure you have a chance to actually say, I'm going to vote for this party. You've got 3 months to make a decision. We're not saying vote for us. We're saying you can vote for whoever you want, but make sure you do vote. And you get your relatives to vote, get your families to vote, everyone. Like I mentioned before, we'll be on the radio, we'll be on the TV. There's more of that going to be coming over the next few months. Hopefully the other channels, the seat channels will actually let us have some airtime to kind of let people know who we are. And this is not just a Southall thing. So some of these pledges, you can easily, if you don't live in the areas you can vote, you can easily take them to your committee and say, look, we like this idea. Why can't we have this too? That will be printed. So we're looking for people who can volunteer and say, look, I'm happy to stand outside, the Gurdwara or Southall Broadway or Hounslow High Street to give out leaflets, let people know who we are and what we're about. So we're looking for Sevadaars in that capacity. We're looking for, once we have the membership list, we're going to be ringing people up and going door to door and kind of say, look, this is who we are. Here's a person who's going to be standing. I want you to know me. So do you have any questions for me? Or what would you like to see in the Gurdwara? So we need Sevadaars for that as well. Okay, how to get involved? Join our committee. So we're still looking for our 21 members. We've got 7 confirmed, but we still need a lot more. And so what we're saying is, a lot of people have bad misconceptions about the committee, and rightly so sometimes. But what we're saying is, become a committee member and give the power to the Panj Pyare. That's what we're saying. So all you've got to do is to stand to give that power away. So you don't feel like, there's too much power here or there's too much responsibility. We're saying, join us, take on a special seva, and say, look, all the power lies with the Sangat and the Panj Pyare. And like it says up here, we want to attract Sevadaars. We don't want politicians. There's loads of politicians, a lot of gopis out there who actually can speak. But what we want to do is want people who actually feel passionate about seva, have good Sikhi values, and actually want to do the seva and serve the Sangat in the right way. So what we're saying is, if you can't vote, or if you do vote, and you like one of these pledges over here, and you actually want to register, say, look, for example, you like the accountability side, and you're a lawyer or an accountant, and you say, hang on, I can spare 2-3 hours a month, for example, or a week. I can actually look at accounts, or I can make them easily accessible, easily readable. A lot of the accounts it's just gibberish to people who actually aren't from that industry. So actually, look, all we want is high figures, one, net income, expenses, and that's all they really want. And so we're saying, if you like some of our pledges, and we're going to be outlining some of the mainstream, the streams as well for each pledge. And so if you like some of the streams that you want to get involved with, register your interest now, so we can go from day one. We don't lounge around and have, celebration parties and all that kind of stuff. We actually get onto the job from day one. On the election day is yet to be confirmed, but the way it works is the people who actually haven't voted before is that there's going to be 4 columns. So we're the 4th party, and they'll have 4 columns, and you're going to vote for individuals. So they'll line up, so they'll list out each member of each party, and you have to tick 21 members on that sheet. Thank you for coming. I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that it's a Saturday and it's the middle of the day and people have got things to do. So we really appreciate your it's quite warming and heartening to see people who actually want to see change. And we're not saying Tera Panth Vasse is, might not be something that you have in mind, but we're saying engage with us so we can implement changes that you have in your mind that we haven't thought about. In Khalsa Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.